You're listening to the Money and Business Hero podcast, where we're talking about the three pillars of financial success: money mindset, money management, and money making, and how these pillars can help you to improve your financial life. Welcome, and thank you for listening. My name is Florian Fritz, and today I have another very special guest, Riley Go from Singapore, Asia. We'll be talking about a couple of differences between Europe, the US, Asia, and that's going to be super interesting. Riley is a common student. We're studying together with our mentor, Blair Singer, and he's been one of the youngest students. He started his entrepreneurial journey at age 11 or 12. I think he's got lots of experience to share about that. And right now, he's working to become a licensed wealth advisor. So that's another interesting topic we're going to talk about. Why would anyone want to become a licensed wealth advisor in a time like today? And very welcome to the Money and Business Hero podcast. Riley, great to have you here.
Thank you so much. And hello, everybody from Singapore. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Florian, for the opportunity. I'm so excited to get started with you. So yeah, ask your questions away.
Well, the first question is, as I mentioned, in a economic time like right now, it's getting harder and harder to have good advice. So why did you decide to become a licensed wealth advisor?
Okay, so here's a very interesting story I'd like to begin off, right? In my entire life, I think I don't think this experience is just on me, but for everyone else. We get persisted by so many, advisors, and then we confuse them with different agents, insurance agents, and things like that. And it gets very bombarding. It gets very, what I call it, very ick, right? So to be very honest with everyone, I have no intention to be a financial advisor, a wealth advisor, whatever you call it. It just so happened that studying together and learning with the rich dad philosophies and the principles, I suddenly came to realize is that all this time, as in the last 10 years or so, building many businesses and startups and things like that, right? I think fundamentally becoming a wealth advisor isn't something that's primarily my main focus, but rather learning the information that I can use on myself. It's the most important. And it's because of that, I'm able to then make better decisions, because these are data and insights that only the insiders would get. So what better way to get into the market, to learn the different industry secrets and stuff like that, to better also, help the commoners, try to simplify the language for them and help them, who knows, build their wealth. I mean, since I have the license, might as well just use it, right? So many parts came into mind, but I think fundamentally, to answer the question, is my intention is not to help people, like to plan all this stuff. It just so happened that it is my passion to dive a bit deeper and learn a bit more about the industry and what's going on behind the scenes. And hey, just so happened I can help people thereafter. Yeah, so that's how I kind of got into this industry. Of course, a lot of people have been recruiting me because of my engagement and stuff like that. But I kind of eventually kind of figure out where I want to go, what I stand for, what are my core values. And I think that's so much more important than just being another licensed wealth advisor.
Okay, great. Thank you. So you started actually because you wanted to learn more.
Yeah, exactly. It's so surprising.
Awesome. But now you told me you also want to use the topic to start your own podcast, Millennial and Money, to keeping adulting simple.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that going to be about?
So here's the thing, right? Before having all this financial knowledge and literacy and stuff like that, all I thought was about, I just need to make a lot of money. And then once I make a lot of money, I just have to invest it in some stocks or some cryptocurrency, whatever the instrument may be. But one of the biggest struggles that no one taught me, right? No one taught me, no one talks about it. Maybe it was overlooked about it, or maybe I didn't comprehend it when I was so young, was about cash flow, right? Cash flow is so important today, right? And one of the things that I realized is that in Singapore, or I would say generally around wherever I go, it's not common to hear people talk about financial literacy or even teach about financial literacy unless you go out into the real working world. But even so, you might not even understand all this stuff, right? So one of the things that I realize is that whenever I share certain principles from, let's say, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Mhm.
You know, the first thing people say, like, who's Robert Kiyosaki? What is the ESBI model, right? What is this all about, you know? And to me, in my little head, it's like, oh my God, how do you guys not know this? And to me, I'm like, I already know this, but what am I doing about it, right? And so I'm stuck in between, like, I have this knowledge, but I can't apply. And I want to teach people, but they also can't apply. So what am I going to do about it, right? So I started Millennial and Money with the intention of what if I can make all these concepts, right? Because all these concepts are designed for the professionals, right? And it's only the language is designed for the professionals and professional only. But who is there out there that can simplify the language to a commoner so that you and I can understand, right? And let alone, especially as a millennial, uh, we might not have a lot of income, we might not have a lot of cash flow, but if we did have the basic fundamental concept, and we then have the cash flow in future, how much time would we have saved? We talk about concepts like compounding interest, right? Can you imagine how much time we can save rather than learning from scratch and then applying? Or we can learn at the beginning, hold it on for a little while before getting started, and how much time that saves us. So that's really the intention why I started Millennial and Money.
Well, that's awesome because you can't start early enough with compounding, right?
Oh yeah.
Creating cash flow with starting your investments, creating assets. The earliest you start, the easier it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's awesome that you helping millennials start that, understand money, because we don't learn in school, right? Is that true in Singapore as well? You don't learn about money in school.
Yeah, we really don't.
So if you don't learn about money in school, how did you start your first business at age 11? How did that happen?
So yeah, so funny enough, I was introduced to my first workshop on how to create a mobile app, for example. That's how I got started. How do I create a mobile app? So I was thrown in by my father as a free guest, right? Rumors lies is that I was actually the scapegoat because he couldn't find anyone to join him. So I was thrown in there, right? But what happened inside the workshop wasn't about what I learned about the workshop, but what I saw happen in the workshop, which is that how could my father, right, who has worked his entire lifetime to build his assets and his income to date, right, for all he has done, let's say in a time span of 1 year, how was it that that workshop managed to create the same amount of money in the six figures or so in less than 4 days? It just doesn't make any sense, right? And so at that moment, at that point, that to me was like the 1 minute one is it a 1 minute mile run, something like that? I can't remember the story.
The 4 minute.
The 4 minute,
The
yeah,
four
yeah, the
minute
four
mile.
minute, yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
managed to run the mile in 1 minute yet.
yeah, that story, right? So
Yes.
to me, I'm like, holy shit, at I think 11, 12 years old, I have not seen anyone make money this quickly, this fast.
Mhm.
And why is it that my father has to spend a year where one person can spend in just 4 days, right? So that really opened up my mind to the concept of money, right? And money isn't about effort. It isn't about, time. It's really about, are you ready when it comes, right? There's this one uh, principle or one concept I came across, which is the definition of luck. And I love this, right? It basically says that luck is the equivalent of opportunity and preparedness, right? And when one comes with the other, right, that is where you get very lucky. So since then, I'm always been preparing. I'm preparing for the last 10 years or so. And now this is where the opportunity, the iron is hot. I'm coming right in. And so, yeah, that is really how I got started with this whole money blueprint concept. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. And over those 10 years, how many other businesses did you start?
Whoa, wow. So I think I do have three companies registered under my name as of right now.
Okay.
And yeah, it's since the beginning. I do have some smaller ventures here and there. Those like mini Instagram stuff way, way, way back. So yeah, maybe a handful. I would say a handful.
And what's the most important things you learned while doing that? From not from the preparation, but from the doing, the actual doing.
The actual doing. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, what worked for you and what didn't work? So, what's the most important lessons you got out of your having multiple businesses?
Okay, so that's a great question. So one of the biggest things and one of the things I really advocate for is to find the alignment within yourself, like your intention as to why you're doing what you are doing. Are you doing it for the money, which I was doing it for the money for a very long period of time? However, because of that, right, there was a lot of burnout, a lot of questioning. Why
Mhm.
am I doing this, right? What was my intention? What was my purpose, right? Was I just doing it for fun? Was I doing it for passion? So on and so forth, right? So one of the biggest things that if I were to turn back the clock, if I were to write a book about it, I would tell myself really, what is what are you trying to feel? What gap are you trying to feel? What fire are you trying to burn? What are you trying to do? And why? Is it just for fun? Is it just for the excitement? Or to be very honest, are you trying to run away from something? Are you trying to suppress some emotion using money? Right. So those were some of the big revelations that I had when I was doing all of these different hustles throughout the years.
Awesome. I think that's a great lesson. So, know your why. Why are you actually doing this? What you're doing?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Know your why. Exactly.
because we're not doing anything just because of money. It's not great to have a large amount of money in your bank account. It's what you're going to do with it,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So just having accumulating money doesn't make any sense. You're doing it for, yeah. What does your dream life look like, right?
Right. And one of the things I would just want to jump in and add on is one of the very famous quote by Tony Robbins is that the greatest failures in life is that when you actually achieve it, but you don't feel that sense of fulfillment. That is one of the greatest failures in life. And I actually had that, right? It was once a time where after 10 years or so, I figured the secret formula on how to make 5, 6 figures in, a very short weekend or so, And when I actually got that in my bank account, I'm like, holy shit, I have not seen this amount of money in my bank before. Yeah. And that was like, oh my God, before I got home, you can see the income coming into your bank statement. It was really mind blowing. But after the event, I was like, but wait a minute, why am I doing this? I wanted to celebrate with my dad actually, and I was telling him the great news and stuff like that. And he came up and he wasn't in a very good state back then. He was like, oh, so you can make money now, huh? Okay. In that case, why don't you start paying the bills for the house? And in that moment, I realized like, what have I been doing for the last 10 years? Was I doing it for the right reasons? Or was I doing it for something else? Right? So when I actually achieve it, yeah, great. But when I actually share with it, when I actually celebrate with it, was I fulfilled? Right? So one of the things that I learned from this very famous quote from Tony Robbins is really about, are you doing it for you and you only? Or are you doing because of someone else? That's so important.
Mhm. I think you need a combination. You need to do things for yourself, and you need to do things for others or contribute to others. Then you have a good combination. If you do only one of those two directions, then it's going to be tough.
Yeah. So one of the things I just want to add to just cover that up to close that loop, right? Is one
Mhm.
of the things I kind of figured out is that if we start with what Tony says is the art of fulfillment, the reason it is an art is because how you see it and how I see it is very different. But it is still an art, right? And it's from there when it is fulfilled, then only then we can have the achievement of achieving it through certain procedures or steps, some formulas of life, right? So yeah, you're right, where this two needs to be balanced. But the question is, where do we start? That's really the big question. Where do we start first?
Yes, where do you start? And yeah, what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Hmm.
Know that first. That's a great, very great tip. Now we said we're going to talk about a little bit about differences between Singapore and other countries. You said your central bank is is better or working better at the moment than the Fed, and I think that's not very difficult. Only the European Central Bank is worse. So what do you think are they doing better? What works in Singapore?
Okay. Yeah, so I can't speak for everyone, and whatever I'm going to share is just my own opinion and my own
Of course.
research and stuff. So disclaimer, guys, disclaimer. So
This is financial
what I've,
advice. This is just
yeah,
for education and entertainment.
yeah, exactly. So one of the things from my mentor, he was sharing with me today a lot of new information that, for example, Singapore is, from what I understand, is that Singapore is voted as the world's #1 central bank, right? So we are the hub where all money comes through us and also goes out at the same time. So in a sense that all in terms of transaction and stuff is right here in Singapore, right? So, coming back to your first question, being a financial advisor or wealth advisor, it's one of the best opportunities because all the wealth is here, right? And now as you're talking, right, we have very, very strict regulations in terms of our policies and stuff like that. So any small details, it's being flagged out by the government, right?
Mhm.
So, different factors, different policies plays a part in this. But I think one of the things that I think has been very consistent would be our forex exchange. It have a very strong position, despite whatever market move. I give an example. Over the last COVID or so, right? While everyone is scrambling for money and stuff like that, the news just came out, I think, a couple of days ago. We just made one of our national holding, I think Temasek, we just made another $400 billion into our net worth in our country, something like that, right? During COVID, where people are struggling and things like that, the government is able to give out billions of subsidies and funds to the citizens. And guess what? We're not borrowing money from any other countries or stuff like that. We're just taking off the interest of our savings to give out to our locals. So that to me is very impressive in terms of what our government, or I would say Singapore, has done with its policies and its strategic planning and stuff like that. And I think that there's so many things that I don't even know what they are doing, but I do know that is that once man, how do I put it? It's like there's just so many things to learn, so many opportunities, and what better way to just be part of it than to just sit alongside and just waiting for things to happen. Yeah.
Okay, did I get you right? They are giving out subsidies to citizens, but they're not printing money for it or borrowing money for it. They actually have a surplus. They have a fund that creates interest and they can use that money.
Yeah, we are basically tapping on all on interest. So we are not losing money. We are just using all on our reserves, on our interest, just to circulate the economy and stimulate it.
So they actually have money instead of just printing it more and more and more like other central banks do.
We don't really print. We don't really print money as freely as stuff.
Mm-hmm. How's your inflation right now? Your inflation rate?
Inflation, definitely not as bad as US at 9%, I think. I think.
At all. I don't know.
I'm not too sure about inflation. I'm not up with the news, but inflation, I think, I think it would be a standard 3 to 4%, up from the 1-2%. Yeah, but it's still manageable in a sense. But locally, when we talk about spending stuff, things are easily anywhere from like 10-15% up in terms of daily spending and stuff like that. To give you an example, is that back then we have this thing called economy rice. Not sure if you have that wherever you are. So it's like we pick different vegetables or meat into a rice, right? Usually the price would be anywhere from $4, $5 right now. At a local food court, per se. Right now, it's what we joke around, it's called premium economical rice, right? $6-7, and it's no different from a McDonald's now. Like there's no different, right? A McDonald's and a normal food court price is almost the same. Back then there was a difference, like $2-3 difference. Now it's almost the same. So I personally am feeling the effects of the war, the inflation and stuff like that. So we have to do something about it. And the only way we can is by understanding what's going on and working around it or with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're getting the inflation that nobody can do anything against from the supply side because of COVID lockdowns, because of war, but not the inflation that we get for pumping too much money into the market. So you're only getting half of it. Sounds like it. That's great. That's good to hear. We should absolutely learn something from that.
Definitely, I think so. I think so.
And copy that model. That sounds really good. So what would your you said you got to know how to cope with it, how to handle your money in a situation like that. What would your advice be, what people should do to keep their money safe, or maybe even profit from the situation we have and that might get even.
Wow. That's a very interesting question. So this is again not financial advice. This is just personal preference and stuff like that. So for me personally is well, when we talk about instruments, right? We talk about cryptocurrencies and stocks and all these different new fintech companies coming up where you can just do it directly without any like agents or stuff like that, right? So that could be one way people might explore. But I think for me personally, I have lost a lot of money in terms of like forex and cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. So I think fundamentally, what I would firstly want to do is to have some peace of mind, right? And that's going through with the license regulated kind of more of policies. Things like, let's say, hypothetically, endowment funds, for example, or whole life, for example, right? Or whatever it might be called, wherever you're from. So I might want to find a policy, a hedge fund or an ETF that it's more secure in paper, in writing, a certain guaranteed return that is definitely more than the inflation rate first. Like that's where I would park majority of my money first. Before then, with whatever balances, go and then diversify it into the more speculative or the more high risk opportunities with that. So that's what I would personally do.
Great. Does that mean in Singapore I can actually get whatever type of paper with a guaranteed interest higher than inflation at the moment?
Meaning to say, sorry.
Can I? You said have a guarantee that's higher than inflation. Is that possible at the moment in Singapore?
So we have to. So that's very subjective in terms of the product or the services that we're going to buy. Obviously, all investment comes with risk, right? So that goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
So there are opportunities definitely out there. There's one that I currently just reviewed today. That gives about 12% per annum, and that's kind of almost guaranteed in paper writing and stuff like that. And that is also regulated. So there are opportunities out there. However, there is a catch, which most people is like, what's the catch? What's the catch, right? So the only catch is really about it's opportunities like this are not easily accessible to the everyday people because these are large sums, right? We're talking about 5-6 figures in order to get this kind of returns. So when we talk about smaller, let's say everyday people, working class people and stuff like that, we talk about going to endowments might be a better options or annuities as well, right? So that gives a long-term saving plans and also, some kind of protection here and there as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's change our wording from guarantee to fixed interest. As you said,
Okay.
There's always risk involved with every investment. And if you write guarantee, then you might have a legal problem later. So fixed interest of 12%, that sounds great.
Okay.
If that's possible, even if it's only with larger amounts, that's amazing. I don't know anybody who would offer 12% here at the moment. And our inflation is higher. So people have to take some sort of risk, but don't just take the risk. First, learn how to handle the risk so you can actually understand what you're doing and mitigate your risk. Rich people don't just take risk. They see how they can actually lower it and manage that risk.
That's right.
Don't just go out and grab some risk just because somebody promises you I don't know, 10% return a day or a week or whatever crazy things. Don't do that.
That's one thing that I always keep in mind now. I think with some maturity along the way is never focus on how much money you can make. Instead, focus on how much money you would lose if you were wrong. That's a big
Mm.
one. That's a
That-
huge one.
oh, thank you for that one. That's a big one. Always find reasons not to invest. Don't look for the reasons why you're investing, how rich you'll be. Look for the reasons why you shouldn't invest. Look for all the what people are actually doing anyway. Where's the catch? Where's the catch? Do that as well. When greed comes in, look for the catch. Thank you for that, Riley. That's a very important thing. Is there any other, or what's the most important advice for people who want to create wealth that you would give before we close this for today?
Yeah, wow. So I'll speak to two audiences, I would say. One is for the millennials. I think very importantly is the idea of paying school loans. I think that's one of the biggest issues in today. Here in Singapore, it's not really a big issue unless you're going to university. But aside from that, working to pay your debt and stuff like that, we have to keep an open mind into what are the other opportunities out there, aside from getting a job, getting a steady paycheck to pay your loans and stuff like that. Like one of the biggest things that I realize millennials do, or I would say they don't realize, is they don't count. They don't do numbers, even though we might be mathematical genius and stuff here in Asia, this stereotypical idea, right? But when I ask them, do you know how long you must work to just pay off your student debt, including the interest and stuff like that? They'll be like, I have no idea. So I think fundamentally, number one is know your numbers. You have to know your numbers, right? And then for my my mentors and friends, right, who are past the schooling stage, right? So one of the things that they always tell me is, oh my God, you're so lucky you get to know all this information. You're so lucky you get to start so young and stuff like that, right? So one of the things that this just also had a recent encounter with my dad because, as I'm getting my license in the next couple of weeks soon, I was, sharing with my dad. I said, hey, I got this new opportunity. I'm learning about this. I'm learning about that. Do you have protection? Do you have this in place just in case anything happened and stuff like that? And he was like, no, I don't. But I'm too old for that, right? For example, or I have businesses to cover. I have to fight the fire tomorrow, right? I don't have access to support all these things, right? So I think one of the things that but he brought up a couple of times before I got all this information was about not doing it for himself, but doing it for the family, right? In terms of having a will or having a trust in place, just in case anything happens, or having an insurance that covers any benefits, just in case anything happens to him, he's unable to work with all these outstanding loans and stuff to pay. Is he protected, right? Do you want to throw the burden to the children, or do you want to be protected by some sort of guarantee or insurance? Put it this way, insurance, right? So I think for everyone out there, I think it's great to have your policies reviewed once in a while. I understand that most people might get the instant fear of, oh my God, they're going to sell me more stuff, or they're going to chase me for money, and I don't have that and stuff like that. But I think, again, coming back to the main point is to know your numbers, just at the back of your head, because you never know, something might go wrong, something might go right. But I think one of the most interesting thing I also came across recently is to watch your interests, right? Now interests are getting way off the roof. So whatever you can do, minimize it, and seek help, seek some advice from any licensed or appropriate people who are certified to help you manage your wealth and funds. I think that's so important.
Awesome, thank you. So know your numbers, manage your risk, have protection. And now, one more question came up while you were talking. What would you say to people who say things like, I'm too old or I'm too young? What's your take on that?
Oh wow, that's a very common thing we get, right? So I'll use my grandmother as an example. She's like 70 plus right now. She's beyond the age where insurance can protect her, but she has a lot of funds, right? And one thing I hate was insurance agents, at the banks just poaching her to do like 2% per annum and stuff like that. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, why are you doing such things? Like, that really frustrates me a lot. But within that process, it taught me one thing. If my grandmother at 70, God bless how long she might live, right? I think maybe it's in 80s or stuff like that, right? But the point is what? When she do all this investment, she's always doing it for the grandchildren, for me, and for my siblings as well, right? So it really is, it comes to a stage where I just could only imagine, right? Why are they doing this? She, I mean, my grandmother is not literate in financial stuff or English or anything like that. But the fact that she's much more of an expert in managing money. She's past the retirement age, yet she's still working. She's having a passive income. I'm like, oh my God, what are we adult, class doing and stuff like that, right? So really, maybe it's time to also consider, who are you doing this for? Who are you living this for? It might not be for it might not be for you, but it could be for a generation thing as well. It could be the next batch of people, or even charity as well. There's so many options on where your heart lies at the end of the day. So yeah, it's really about open your heart and ask yourself, what brings you the most joy? Really, what brings you the most joy?
Awesome. Thank you. So if everyone would like to know more about you, follow you, listen to your podcast as soon as it's launched, where can they find you, Randy?
So you can go straight to my Instagram page or my Facebook page. My username is the same across all social media. It's at The Abundant Riley. Again, it's at The Abundant. So it's The Abundant Riley. No spacing, just one word. And you will find all the resources all right there in front of your screen.
Awesome. I'll absolutely will post the link below this episode so everyone can follow and find you. Thank you so much for coming, Riley.
Thank you
final
so
words
much.
You want to say?
Well, final words is any final words? I would say that don't give up hope. Don't give up hope in terms of whatever you're trying to achieve. It took me so long to even. I'm just getting started, right? And I've been in this journey for so long, right? So don't rush. And I know that it might feel like it's forever and stuff like that. Reach out to people like us and have a conversation. I think that's so important. Have a conversation so that we can normalize our feelings and emotions. I think that's very important, especially when it comes to money as well, right? So have a conversation with me. Start a conversation with me. Drop me a message. Let me know what you guys think about this call, this interview, and let's discuss.
Great. Thank you so much for coming, Riley. Thank you so much for listening again. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again in the next episode. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Money and Business Hero podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you get some value from it. Please take a moment to leave a rating or even better, a review. That helps awesome people like you to find the show and me to produce more and even better episodes. And don't forget to subscribe. I even have an amazing gift for you if you leave a great review. I'll be running a 2-day Money Hero Bootcamp on September 24th and 25th this year in 2022, where we will work on those 3 pillars of financial success, so you will be able to rewrite your financial story for even greater success. The price for those 2 days is $197, and I will invite you as my guest. You can join the program for free if you leave a good review for this awesome new podcast. Thank you, and I hope to see you on that Money Hero Bootcamp. See or hear you soon. Have an amazing day.